Good morning and welcome to Children's Church. It's the 24th of May and we're very happy to have you with us. We're going to start this morning straight away with a game. So it's called the Balloon Challenge. What you're going to need is some balloons. We actually did get through quite a few of them, and some kind of flat surface that you can stand on. Before we get into it, worth just giving a warning that it did get a little bit dicey at times for us, so definitely make sure that you've got some grown-ups with you if you're going to give it a go. What you're going to need to do is grab as many balloons as you can find. I think we started out probably with about 10 and lost a few along the way. Blow them up, and then you're going to just lay them flat on the ground and put your surface on top. The challenge is to see how many people you can stand on the surface before either you fall off, which was what happened with us, or before the balloons pop. So see how many you can get. We just about managed 4. Let's see how it goes.
Casper first. I just need to get in the hole. Put your legs in. Okay. Okay, ready? Oh no, is it just me? Can you hold my hand? Go right in the middle. You have to do it very carefully. Come right there. You do it. That's you want to go in here? Yeah. Ethan, you nudge over that way a bit. Coming out! He's surfing it away. I felt it! Whoa. Chloe, come to Mummy. Come round. It's okay. Hold on. I blew it out! I blew it out! Let me work out you boys where they need to go. Okay, and where's the other one need to go? No, it needs to go under here. Get on first. Cass, you want to come up this side? You watch out for you come all the way round to the side of the line here. No, Chloe! Oh, Chloe's on. Okay. Spread your legs a bit further apart to balance if you want. Right, hold on. Not yet, because I need to get on at the same time. I'm going to do what normal goes. No, ready. Okay, ready? No, what we go! Hold on, let's try again. Go on then, Ethan first. Wait till he gets his balance.
So as you could probably tell, we had great fun doing the balloon challenge. We realised pretty quickly we had to be very gentle getting onto the board. What we're actually doing this week is we're carrying on with the fruits of the spirit, and this week we're looking at gentleness. Now, when you think about a balloon, you know, it's quite weak and flimsy at first, and we all know they pop very often. We popped a fair few of them today, but actually all we put in is our breath, and it can become really strong, as we just saw. And God's breath is like that. He speaks to us very gently. His voice, the way he talks, he is gentle but yet really powerful, and he does amazing things. Right now we're going to be moving on and going to, I think, Fee for worship, and then Bev has got a story on Jesus healing someone very gently. So those are coming up for you now.
So we're going to sing a song that is all about God being bigger than anything else that we can possibly imagine. And it starts off talking about the big blue sky that God has made and the ocean that he has made that is so wide. And we're going to sing about the trees that are really tall, and then we're going to think about the fact that God is bigger than all of those things, and that his love for us is really strong, and he really cares for us. He's mightier than mighty. And there's also an opportunity in this song to sing one of the lines really, really loudly.
Hello everyone, it's been a long time since I've had this many people in my kitchen, so you're very welcome. It's good to see you all. The story that I'm going to tell you this morning is about a time when Jesus was gentle with someone in the Bible. Now there are lots of Bible stories where Jesus was gentle. I bet you can think of lots of them. But the story that I'm going to tell you today is mentioned in Matthew, Mark and Luke. And it's a time when Jesus was very gentle with an elderly lady who was very poorly. It was a lovely sunny day. Everyone felt glad to be alive. Jesus went to the synagogue with his friends James and John and Andrew and Peter, who were all fishermen. They had tied up their boats because it was the Sabbath when they rested from work. In the synagogue, they heard wonderful stories about how God looked after his people every moment of their lives. They sang some songs to thank God for everything. The friends came out of the synagogue smiling and happy. "All that singing has made me hungry," said James. "Me too," said his brother John. Peter laughed. He knew what good appetites they had. "Why don't you all come to our house for a bite to eat?" he said. "Great idea," said James. He knew there was always a good meal at Peter's house. "We'd love to," agreed John. "And you too, Jesus," said Peter. "Come and see where we live. Everyone in our family's longing to meet you." "Yes," said Andrew, "we've told them so much about you." "Especially Grandma," said Peter. "She's a nice old lady. She's always interested in everything we do. And she loves meeting new people. She'll be thrilled to pieces if we bring you home for a meal." "Yes, do come," said Andrew. "Thank you," said Jesus. "I'd love to." They strolled along near the Sea of Galilee to the house where Peter and Andrew lived with their family. Outside were sails and lengths of fishing net hung out to dry on the wall. Peter hurried ahead of the others. He was so happy that their friend Jesus was coming to their house for a meal. He burst into the house. "Grandma, can you make the meal stretch to 3 more?" he called. "Just wait until you see who we've got with us." But there was no answer. The house was strangely quiet. "Grandma, Grandma," he called again. "We've brought someone special to meet you. It's someone you've been asking to see for ages." But there was still no answer. Peter began to feel frightened. The servant girl came tiptoeing out of the side room. She shut the door quietly behind her. "Thank goodness you're back, Master," she whispered. "She fell sick all of a sudden with a very high fever. We haven't been able to do anything to help her. Oh, what shall we do?" Peter turned to his friends who'd just come into the house. His happy face looked pale and shocked. Grandma was a very old lady, and he loved her dearly. "It's Grandma," he whispered. "She's got a high fever. Oh, Jesus, what shall we do?" "Let me see her," said Jesus. Peter led the way into the side room. He opened the door gently. Grandma was in bed. She looked so tiny and old, lying there. Her face was wet with sweat, and she was trembling all over with fever. Her teeth were chattering. She was hot and then cold. Peter had never seen her look so ill. Now he was really frightened. He turned to his friend and said again, "Oh, Jesus, what shall we do?" Jesus went over to the bed. He bent over the old lady and took hold of her hand. "Let me help you up," he said gently. The old lady stopped trembling. Her tiny body lay quiet for a moment. She opened her eyes. Then she tightened her grip on Jesus' hand and sat up. She pushed back the covers, put her feet down on the floor, and stood up. It was unbelievable. "You've made her better," exclaimed Peter. He could hardly believe his eyes. "Oh, Jesus, thank you." He gave Grandma a great big hug. He was very fond of her. The old lady smiled up at Jesus. "Welcome," she said. "I'm sorry I wasn't able to meet you at the door. I suddenly began feeling very sick indeed. But now I feel better than I have for years. You must all sit down. I'll soon have some water and towels ready for you. Your feet must be dusty." Grandma looked around at the visitors crowding into the room and beamed. "It's wonderful to have you all here," she said. "I'll go and get wine for you. Then I'll bring you a delicious meal. It's going to be a real celebration." "It's one Sabbath I won't soon forget," said Peter. "Nor I," said Grandma. Jesus was very gentle with that old lady, wasn't he? But that wasn't a weak or waffy thing to do, because in fact he was really powerful. In just holding her hand and helping her up, she was healed. So actually, gentleness can be a really powerful thing. And I've noticed that about Jesus in the Bible, that he doesn't use the power that he's got to throw his weight about or to try and dominate people or be rough, but he uses it with gentleness to people who need it. So perhaps this week, at home in our families, we might like to show that fruit of the Spirit and be gentle with those around us, because gentleness is a really powerful thing.
So thank you, Fee, for the worship. We always love a Riley worship in our house. And thank you too to Bev for that story. You know, as she said, Jesus in many stories was gentle with the way that he spoke to people and touched people, and yet he did amazing things, and there was such power in his acts and words. So next we are going to move on. We've got Kath doing prayers. I believe you're going to need even more balloons and possibly some straws. And then we've got kind of like a craft game with Sarah and Ben. So we're also going to need some paper for that, and probably a grown-up to help as well. So that's coming right up.
So it's time for prayers. It's Kath again. Hi everyone, I hope you're having a lovely morning. So this morning we're going to do some really active balloon rocket prayers. It's going to be really fun and they're really powerful prayers. So for this craft prayer activity, you will need balloons. You might need a peg to peg your balloon shut before you shoot it off. It's quite a good idea. You will need some string and you'll need to tie it between two things like a chair and a handle or something. Not too high up, quite low down if possible. And you'll need some sellotape and you'll need a straw. Now I've cut off the bendy bit, so you've just got the middle bit. Now if you want to just show everyone how that looks. So I've got my string attached between the chair and a cupboard door, and I've got my bit of straw on the tape here so that it just shushes along, and I've got my balloon attached onto the straw with some sellotape. So we're ready to do some prayers. Now a balloon doesn't seem like a very strong kind of thing, does it? Especially when it's not blown up. It's really weak, and I don't know what you could do with that, not very much, but as soon as you breathe into it and put your breath inside it, it blows up. It becomes something amazing, doesn't it? And our breath is incredible. If you just breathe, it's really gentle, isn't it? And we're looking at gentleness this morning. Breath, and then our speaking can be really gentle. Our words, though, can either be gentle or they could be not so gentle. But actually, our words are really powerful and our breath is really powerful. And God's breath was really powerful. His words were really powerful. With his breath, he created the whole world. He just spoke and things were made. That's incredible power, isn't it? And actually, Jesus was really powerful. When he spoke, things happened. People were healed. People were taught amazing truths about God. People really listened when Jesus spoke. His words were powerful. And actually, we're going to use these balloons and our breath and our prayers, because our prayers are also really powerful. Although we sometimes speak them in our heads and sometimes say them out loud, they achieve great things. God uses our prayers for amazing things. So we're going to say some powerful prayers this morning using our balloon rockets. So we're going to start off. We're just going to start off by telling God a few things. So you can say that in your head, or you can just shout it out as your balloon rockets along. So the first thing I want you to think about is tell God the strongest animal you can think of, and as our balloon goes off, just tell him the strong animal. So I've got one. So are you ready? Here we go. So have you got your animal in your head? So I'm going to shout it out to God and tell him the strongest animal I think of. So my strong animal is a hippopotamus. That didn't get all the way along. I'm sure yours did. Okay, now tell God the silliest word you can think of. Now I'm going to say the word shenanigans because that's the silliest word I can think of. Shenanigans! Oh, it didn't go all the way. I think we should do that again. Okay, so now we're going to do two more prayers, and these are going to be really powerful balloon prayers. We're going to ask God to do something. We're going to ask God to help two people. So we need to think of two people. Maybe somebody who's not very well at the minute, or maybe somebody that you know that might be feeling a bit lonely. They've been stuck on their own at home for too long and they might be feeling lonely. So I've got one in my head for who is not very well at the minute, and I've got one in my head for who's feeling a bit lonely. So we're going to start with the one who's not very well. So as I let my rockets off, maybe if you've got them at home, you can let your rockets off too, and you can just ask God to help these people, to be with them. So, dear God, I just pray that you would help my friend Julian, who's hurt his shoulder. So, Julian, woo! And second one, dear God, I pray that you would help my friend Shirley, who's feeling really lonely at the minute. Off we go. Shirley! Excellent. So we haven't done any catching from God, any listening to what he wants to say to us. So you could just spend a little bit of time, balloons are really gentle, aren't they? Although they're amazing, they're really gentle. And you could just tap them up and down, catch them, and just spend a little bit of time talking to God, asking him some questions and seeing what he has to say for you this week. Maybe you could ask him, how could I speak more gently to my friends or my siblings or my parents? How could I be a more gentle person? Right, bye.
Morning everyone, and welcome to this Sunday's game. So all you need for this game is a piece of paper, just plain A4 paper, nothing special, and a pair of scissors. Alright, that's all you need. Now what I want to know is, do you think I can get a hole in this piece of paper just using the scissors that will be big enough to fit this giant through? Hello giant, what's your name?
I'm many of names, but I'm Ben in general.
This is Ben. So do you think I can cut a hole in this piece of paper big enough for Ben to fit through?
Well, I didn't think so, but
You don't think so?
we'll find out, won't we?
Let's have a quick little look. So if I don't know, let's just pretend and I'll try and do as big a hole as I possibly can. Now, is this even going to fit over Ben's head? Who knows? Surely it depends how big Ben's head is. Have you got a big head, Ben?
Yes, I am. I've got the size of the earth head.
A size of the earth. Right,
Size of
Ben.
the earth.
Would you like to take this piece of paper and try and fit it over your whole body? You mustn't break it.
My goodness, isn't like it's TV, programmed TV, isn't it?
Right, ready? Don't break it. And no, it's got to keep going. It's got to fit over your shoulders and your arms. And if you break it... Oh my goodness.
I have broken it.
Oh, Ben.
But here's a good thing. Now,
No, I've got to show them how to do it, yeah? Wait a minute. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how we can cut it only using scissors so that it fits over all of Ben's body. And it might even fit over my body as well. We'll see. Let me just get ready.
go.
So here we have our piece of paper. First of all, you just need to fold it in half along the long edge. Doesn't have to be perfect, but as neat as you can. So I've just folded that in half. Try and keep the camera still, Ben, alright? In half. Now, taking our pair of scissors with the crease at the bottom, you just cut near the edge, not too near, and you don't go right to the top. You just take a little snip of the end. And then you do exactly the same at the other end. So you cut, not right to the top, but a bit. Okay? Like that. Keep the camera still, Ben. Then we go in the middle of the fold and we go up
You
to
can
the
always
top,
swap.
but not all the way through. Then with this half, go in half again. And with this half, go in half again. Remember, you're not going near the top. Right, next. You now want to cut all of these pieces in half as well. So you cut these 4 chunks in half. You don't have to be really accurate with this, just make sure you don't go all the way through. Otherwise you'll have to start all over again. That would be disastrous, darling. Right, okay. So we then have lots of flappy bits of paper. It looks a bit like a hula skirt, but it's not. So now what we're going to do, with all these bits of paper, not the little end bits, forget those, keep those safe and out the way. With all the other bits, we're going to cut where the paper is creased. So cut where the paper is creased. I think there should be 8. 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so we've then got our piece of paper cut, all right, like that. Now you're going to turn the paper over so that you are going to cut on the other side. So on the side that is all attached, that's the edge we're now going to cut. Can my cameraman show that? So coming close. So we've cut all down this edge. Now I'm going to cut up the middle of all of these other ones. Don't go to the end, okay? And don't forget, these are safe, so don't touch those. So go, cut, 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 but not to the end. Who still thinks we're going to fit Ben, the giant, through this one piece of paper? Is it going
Without
to
breaking
work?
it.
Without breaking it, Ben, you're quite right.
It doesn't have to be with staples. It doesn't.
No staples, no sticky,
No sellotape.
no nothing.
Nothing. It's
Okay.
all with God's touch.
So there we are, look. It's just a piece of paper. Now, in a minute, we're going to pick it up. I'm going to show you Benjamin, my giant model, displaying how it's going to work. Switch it off, Ben.
Now.
So, here we go again. And we are going to pick the piece of paper up gently. Lovely.
So here
Wait
is.
a minute.
So this is. So are you gonna say now that this is not gonna fit me?
Don't you break it, Benjamin.
I'm not gonna break it.
Otherwise it's the naughty stare. Right, is he going to manage it? Hang on. Over the top. Stand out. Don't break it. Ta-da! There we have it. Can we both fit through, Ben?
I don't
Right,
know.
you hold that side gently. I'll hold this side. Up and over. Right over the back. Can you manage it?
Yeah.
Wow! That is simply
How to do it.
amazing. Well done, Ben. Nice to see you all.
Bye.
So thank you, Kath, for those prayers. Sometimes it's so useful to do something physical while we're praying, and that's such a brilliant idea. And also to Sarah and Ben for probably the best use of a piece of paper I've ever seen. I didn't think it was going to be possible, but well done, guys. You know, just goes to show that something that seems very weak or delicate and small actually can be used to do amazing things. So thank you for being with us today for Children's Church. We hope that you will be able to take away something of God's gentleness to us. And like Bev said, that we might all be able to show a bit of extra gentleness to those in our households this week. And just remember that God speaks very gently to us, but that his words and his voice are full of power and strength. We hope you have a great bank holiday Monday tomorrow, and that the sun is still hopefully out, and have a great rest of the week. Bye bye from us.